Hey all, Alex here at your home of the Music Deep Dive, and today it's time for a review of the 1991 book by Karin Pendle, Women and Music: A History. I should say this was edited by Karin Pendle. This is kind of a collection of essays written by female music scholars regarding kind of women's place in musical history from essentially the beginnings of time to at that point, the present day, so the early 90s. There is a second edition that was released some years later, which I'm sure has some updates. I have not read that. I am reviewing the first edition. So I went into this book understanding this is, going to be kind of a collection of essays, probably vaguely organized, and that it was going to be somewhat academic. And I had a feeling going in that this was going to be very heavily focused on the Western classical tradition, because that is just the reality of music academia, and was especially the reality of that academia in the early 90s. And this is true. I will say there is more cohesion to the writing than I was expecting. I think each section really is structured well and is written well enough to flow from one to the other pretty well. I would say it reads pretty close to a textbook as far as writing style, in the sense that there are a lot of names that are thrown at you, not necessarily a whole lot of detail given to those names. This really feels like a jumping off point for kind of, future research and exploration down the line. As I expected, this is very heavily focused on Western classical music. I would wager probably 3/4 of this book are focused on that genre. And in that sense, it is exceptionally helpful, because there were quite a few names they were throwing around that I had never heard of before, and quite a few where I had only very baseline knowledge. So it works for what it is exceptionally well. Obviously, though, there are a swath of female musicians who were not talked about here because they were popular musicians. Popular music is discussed, but again, you're kind of scratching the surface with your examples, like Joni Mitchell for folk, or Aretha Franklin, or somebody like that. I mean, it's going to be the big dogs. It's not going to be anybody especially obscure. The most interesting parts of the contemporary sections are when Pendle is talking about kind of contemporary classical musicians and people kind of forging new paths in that sense. I think that was interesting. Also, female conductors. I thought that was an interesting passage as well. And there's also a section towards the end where it talks about non-Western music and kind of women's place in that. Again, very cool, and there's just a whole lot more that could be explored there. So take it for what it is. It is a surface level exploration written by a bunch of scholars who do great work. I believe Nancy Reich wrote one of the essays about kind of the Romantic era, discussing like Clara Schumann. I know she has a book about Clara Schumann that I have on my to-read list, which I'm very excited for. But yeah, it is what it is. Take it for what it is. It is a resource. It is a launching point, but it is not the be-all, end-all. Utilize it for sources. Utilize it to kind of find what stories inspire you or interest you, and go from there. So in that sense, I would recommend it. It is well done, well researched, and worth a buy. And that's it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend as well. More reviews always to come. And until next time, I will see you right here at your home of the Music Deep Dive.